Hi everybody, this is an hour-long bump plan class. It's going to be a combination of low-impact cardio and Pilates, so we'll be alternating between the two, and it's safe for you no matter where you are in your pregnancy, as long as you have no contraindications to exercise. But as always, listen to your body throughout the class. Some exercises might feel fantastic, other exercises you might just want to take a break. Make sure that you've got some water nearby, and I know it seems really patronising, but just make sure that you're constantly taking sips of water. I'll keep reminding you as well so that you don't forget. Otherwise, you don't need any equipment, but it might be worth having a pillow or a cushion next to your mat, just in case you want it to get comfortable. But otherwise, I think that's everything. So if you're ready, let's get started. So we're going to start straight into a warm-up, and we're just going to start by marching on the spot. So really gentle to begin with. Maybe this is the first time that you've moved your body today. So just take your time, start off quite gentle. But what I do want you to do straight away is point and flex those ankles. So it seems really exaggerated, okay? But many of us will experience swollen ankles, swollen feet during pregnancy. Getting those ankles moving, calf work can really help reduce that. But also we can get a bit tight through the front of the ankle because we're always being pulled forwards by that growing bump. So it's really important we stay on top of that ankle mobility. Lovely. So whilst we're just starting to warm up a bit, I just want to touch on the cardio sections of the class. So we're going to be doing 3 cardio rounds, one at the start, one at the end, and one in the middle. And during those rounds, I want you to work at a moderate intensity. So when you're working at a moderate intensity, you would still be able to talk. It might sound breathy, but you would still be able to talk. But what some people find helpful is thinking of a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 is me sat on the sofa watching Bake Off. 10 is me at the end of a marathon pre-pregnancy. We'll try and pitch tonight at kind of 6 or 7. So that's going to look different for all of us. So you just focus on you. Don't worry about anyone else you see on the screen. Now take those legs a bit higher for me. If you've got a bump already, you might want some turnout. But again, really exaggerate the movement at the ankle. It feels really silly and over the top, but it's really going to help fire up those calves. And we can start to think about our breath here. During pregnancy, it is more difficult to take a full deep breath because the uterus comes up and up and up towards that diaphragm. So you almost have to make more effort. Nice big deep breath in through the nose and a noisy exhale out through the mouth. Lovely. Can we take those legs a bit higher again? So as high as you can now and as fast as you can. Good. And breathing. 5 seconds left here. 3 and 2 and 1 and change. Now we're going to come into some squats, ideally in parallel, okay? But if you need to go wider, it's fine. I would just go into some turnout if you're going to do that, okay? So we're either parallel, so hip width apart. Ideally, that's what we would want, okay? Just because there is a tendency in pregnancy to favour turnout. And so if we're then adding turnout squats, we may be making that worse. So ideally parallel, but it really does depend how your body feels. Now, whatever squats you're doing, whatever your feet are doing, your knees should do. So if I'm here, knees point over my toes. If I'm out here, knees point out over the toes. Yeah, so let's try and keep the alignment wherever we put the feet. Nice neutral spines from the side. And we're going to do 2 more and 1 more and then change. Feet as wide as is comfortable for you in parallel and then into a skater stretch. So 1 leg bent, 1 leg straight. And remember that during pregnancy, our hormones make us more flexible, and it's kind of fake flexibility. So it's really tempting to push your stretches deeper, but you do run the risk then of just overstretching. So stretches should be enjoyable. We should all be smiling, which everyone does when they're working out, right? And it should be comfortable, enjoyable. It should not hurt. We're going to do 3 more and 2 and 1 and change. Feet a bit closer together, hands on the shoulders. Nice big circles with these arms. And how do those pecs feel? If you sit at a laptop all day, or you've got a small child already, you probably spend a lot of the day like this, and the pecs can get quite short and grippy. So hopefully this helps just open them up. Let's do 2 more and 1 more. Now reverse it other direction. How does the back feel? And when you're doing this, can you try and make sure the movement's coming from the shoulder, not you moving your back? Sometimes we'll compensate if we don't have a huge amount of movement at the shoulder. Let's do 2 more and 1, and then shake out those arms. Feet hip width apart and parallel, 1 heel up, 1 heel down into your single calf raises. So we've talked a little bit already about the importance of keeping those ankles moving. This calf work, okay, helps push fluid back up from the feet and the ankles. You've got up to 50% more fluid in your body when you're pregnant, which if you think about it, it's a huge amount. So no wonder we sometimes feel a bit swollen. So get those calves working, they help push that back up. Final 5 seconds, and 3, and 2, and 1. Give the ankles a rotate one direction, and then the other on both sides, and then you can rest. That's the end of your warm-up. So have a quick sip of water, have a quick wander around. Just try and keep those feet moving. We're going to go into our first cardio section, so I'll demo the exercises, then we'll do them all together. So if you want to practice them while I demo, you can, but we'll do them all together anyway. So we're going to be doing a lunge kick, first of all, and it will look different for all of us. What we'll be doing is we'll be lunging back with one leg. Remember that with this front knee, we're going to hinge forwards over it. Sometimes I'll hear instructors cueing us to keep the chest lifted, but look what that does to the shape of my back. I'm actually in quite a lot of extension, and during pregnancy that can be quite uncomfortable. So we'll hinge forwards, and then we'll come up and kick through. Then we'll swap legs, lunge back, we'll come up, kick through. Now if you've got pelvic girdle pain, feel free to do a smaller lunge or get rid of the kick. If it's wobbly, feel free to tap and then kick. Your second exercise will be skaters. So if you're first trimester, there's no reason why you can't do regular skaters. The rest of us might just want to reduce the impact a bit, depending on how the pelvic floor and the chest feel. Okay, so see how you go. So when you're ready, you want to be kind of near the middle of your mat. We're going to be lunging back, whichever leg you like first. 3, 2, 1. So we're going to lunge it back, kick it through. Other leg lunges back, kick it through. So have a see how it feels. Maybe you want to tap between the kick and the lunge if you feel a little bit wobbly. You can reduce the range. You know, if you've got pelvic girdle pain and lunges are not great for you, then you can go smaller. If lunges are completely out of the question, you could squat and kick instead. So lots of options here. We've got 5 seconds to go. Final 3, 2, 1, and change. So skaters, we're reaching from one end of the mat to the other. Now, if you've got pelvic girdle pain, you might want to do smaller steps, but just go faster. There's always a way of making something moderate intensity, okay, and still being comfortable. So this should never be painful. Lovely. If you're first trimester, or you're still jogging, you're still happy bouncing, there's no reason why we can't leap. 5 seconds to go. Lovely. 3, and 2, and 1, and rest, and just have a walk around. Try not to stand still. Think of all that extra fluid we're pumping around the body. We don't want it to all just now go and pull down into the feet. So have a walk around, have a sip of water. Think about how that felt. So was it moderate? Maybe it was too easy. You could always add some dumbbells or tins of beans into your hands. Maybe it was too hard, so reduce it down next time. But you should sound a bit like me. You know, I'm obviously a little bit breathy, but I'm still able to chat to you. Now, when you're ready, we're going to go into your first toner. And this toner is an exercise that's going to help slow the breath down whilst making the most of the time we have together. So we're going to come to the middle of our mat. And I'd like us to find neutral. So bump plan members, you'll know how to do this, but if you're new, have a look at the feet, if you can still see them. And I want them to be hip width apart and parallel. Then think about your knees. Watch that they're not locked. In some ways, that's kind of cheating. We're just dumping effort into the joint. Just unlock them a bit. Think of the pelvis like it's a bowl of water that you're trying to contain. During pregnancy, there's a tendency to slip this way because of the weight of the bump, or we might compensate and actually tuck under to try and protect our back. So try and find the middle ground. The rib cage should feel like it's stacked directly over the pelvis, and then the arms are by your side, you're showing off your collarbone, and your eye line is straight ahead. And lots of clients will mention that looking straight ahead almost feels a bit strange. We're so used to looking down at phones or children or laptops, so just try and stay looking straight ahead. Now in this position we should feel very stacked, okay, and it's in some ways one of the safer positions for our body to be in. Now put your hands on your tummies for me, whether you've got a bump or not, just place your hands on your tummy. Now I'd like you to imagine that you've got a zip running from your tailbone between your legs, past your pubic bone, past your belly button and ending here in your sternum. So visualize that zip. That would be very handy during labour. So vertical zip. Now imagine right now it's unzipped. So let everything kind of relax. Let the abdominals and the pelvic floor soften. Now take a nice big deep breath in, and as you exhale, I'd like you to imagine zipping yourself up and then unzipping yourself. So on the exhale, we zip ourselves up, and on the inhale, we unzip ourselves. Now I'd like you to keep that going, and don't panic if you're thinking, I just don't get what she's after, because there's a few ways we can think about it. Another way we can visualize what I'm asking you to try and happen, what I want you to do, is I want you to also be thinking about maybe lifting and closing your anus, vagina, urethra, and then tightening up an imaginary belt or a corset. Or we can think about it again another way, engaging the pelvic floor and engaging our transverse muscle. So essentially, whatever you're doing, whatever visualization works for you, you should feel your stomach move. So maybe you notice your bump tightens, it might lift, and if you haven't got a bump yet, you might just feel your tummy flatten a bit. And what you're doing, guys, is when you lift your pelvic floor, your transverse muscle, which is like a corset, naturally fires up. And if your bump is lifting, imagine what that muscle does when it works. It helps carry the weight of your bumps. It's a really, really helpful muscle to keep active during pregnancy. Just do that one more time. Don't worry if you're not feeling anything, okay? Sometimes it just takes a bit of practice. And then when you're ready, you can relax, you can let it go, and just have a quick wiggle, have a quick wander around, maybe have a quick sip of water, because we're going into those same two exercises we practiced a moment ago. So it's a lunge kick, alternating each time, and then skaters. So what did you want to do differently second time round? So when you're ready, come towards the middle of your mat. We're going to lunge back, whichever leg you like first. 3, 2, 1. So we lunge, come kick through. Lunge it back and kick it through. So remember what I said about hinging forwards here as you lunge? And it's because as you lunge, your pelvis tilts forwards. So why not bring the spine with it to stay neutral? If you wanted to, you could think about the distance between your last rib, so your bottom rib, and your hip bones. They should stay the same as you lunge. So we are not back bending, but we're also not rounding that spine. We're going to do 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1 more, and skaters. So one end of the mat, reaching towards the other end. So those of you who do have bumps, 2nd, 3rd trimester, there's no reason why you can't bounce around, okay? But just thinking about how it feels. So some people find it's just not comfy. So you could just sidestep, okay? And then you might just want to speed it up. So do what works for you. Any leaking, okay, of urine during exercise usually means it should have been a bit easier. We're going to do 3 and 2 and 1 and rest. Again, have a wander around, so try and resist the lovely urge to just stand still. Have a sip of water. And again, just think about, how did that exercise feel? Am I working too hard? Am I not working hard enough? We do need to get a little bit breathy to get a cardiovascular effect, yeah? So don't play it too slow. So we're going to go into our first round of Pilates, and I always like this to be standing because we need to be strong in standing now and postnatally, because we spend an awful lot of time bumping around, rocking, feeding, picking up, and standing over and bathing. So I'd like you to come to the middle of your mat, and I'd like you to take a moment to find a nice neutral start position. So again, think about from the ground up, how can I get myself nice and stacked? It doesn't mean that when you're outside of class, you have to walk around like a robot in neutral, but for this exercise, it's great to start in neutral. Now bring your hands to prayer position at your chest. Just watch you haven't locked out your knees. And then we're going into a hip hinge. So first of all, I want you to imagine there's something behind your bum and you're going to try and push your bum back towards it. That will start you hinging at the hip. So what you'll find is you'll naturally start to hip hinge. And then you'll go as far as is comfortable and possible for you. So we get to a point where if I tried to go further, I'd have to round my back. I don't want us to do that, so find that bite point really. Now once you're here, some of you will think, oh my gosh, my lower back, I just can't do this, it's really sore. That I will come back to because there are some really easy tricks to get that off. Your feet should be touching the floor all over, so big toe, little toe, heel. Your knees are not locked, they're soft. That distance between the ribs and the hips that we found in standing is the same, and the back is nice and neutral. Now as you exhale, feel as if you're pushing your feet down into the floor, and that should naturally start to pull you back up where we come back to neutral. And then we'll do it again. So we're going to inhale, start by pushing your bum back. That creates that beginning of hip flexion where we can then continue. At the bottom, just do a few checks. And then as you exhale, you're coming back up to standing, just to neutral, and we'll keep this going. Now, those of you who do tend to feel hip hinges in your lower back, it's usually because something else isn't doing the work, so the lower back has to do it all. And usually it's the abdominals. The abdominals are not showing up, so therefore your back is going to have to take all of that effort on. So a few things you can do. When you're next out, you might be in a bit of extension. You might have back bended, in which case, of course, your back is going to fire. You could try to just bring your ribs down a bit. So you've got a slightly shorter gap between the ribs and the hips, yeah? Another option is that zipping up. So if I zip up, if I've got my pelvic floor and my transverse on, I'm adding some support to that lower back. So again, it doesn't have to do all the work. And remember that sometimes muscles are a bit like colleagues, you know, if one colleague is not pulling their weight, then you end up doing all the work. It's the same with muscles. If your abdominals are not doing the job, which during pregnancy they do tend to stretch and switch off a bit, then your back's going to have to do more work, which is why the back then can get quite tired. So we're going to do a couple more of these, and you can always stay and chat to me at the end. So if you have got any questions, let's just chat at the end. On the next one though, we're going to come out halfway and then we're going to hold it here for a second. Now I always say with this position, this is a classic mum movement, okay? We're in this position a lot with babies, looking in their cot, changing their nappies, giving them a bath. Just make sure in this position, you've really nailed endurance. You can hold this without pain. So just a few pointers. Again, feet in contact with the floor. The knees are not locked. The glutes here are on. Yeah, so if you poke your bum, those glutes need to be there because if they don't show up, who's going to show up? Your lower back. Have you still got a neutral spine or are you doing lots of this? Okay, and then when you're ready as you exhale, push yourself back up to standing and have a quick wiggle. Now it doesn't mean that lower back should not work at all. It is definitely there, but it should be doing its fair share of work, not taking over. Now when you're ready, come back to standing in neutral. Let's balance that back out. So bring your fingers to your temples, elbows wide. Just watch that you're still stacked, yeah? So sometimes we find when we lift the arms, we just back bend, we let it all go. See if you can stay relatively neutral. Now, think of that pelvis like it's a bowl of water that you don't want to spill. On your next inhale, I'd like you to start lifting your eye line and then your chest up towards the ceiling into thoracic extension. So that pelvis has not moved, yeah? It stayed in neutral. Therefore, the movement we've created has come from the upper back, lengthening out. We're growing tall. Those of you with big bumps, that bump might now feel harder, or you might just feel like your abs are really getting a stretch. And then when you're ready, carefully come back to neutral, ribs stacked over pelvis. Do it again. As you inhale, we start to look up. We take the chest with us. And then as we exhale, we slowly return to neutral. And we're going to keep this movement going. So this is a great exercise for anyone, okay? Because of modern lives, we spend a lot of time doing this, okay? So here, we're trying to strengthen the muscles that might have switched off. But also during pregnancy, you know, we're being pulled forwards by our bumps, potentially growing chest. So really keep that upper back as strong as you can. We're going to do 2 more of these. And on the last one, we'll lift and hold. And I just want you to make sure at the top, the back of your neck is not all wrinkly. So use your hands to check. Because if it is, what you might look like is a bit more like this. So the spine hasn't moved. It's all come from your neck. It needs to be lifting the chest. And then when you're ready, you can come back to neutral, you can relax, and I would just give your legs a wiggle just because we've been stood still for a moment. Lovely. So last exercise here that includes a hip hinge. We'll come back to that now. Standing on your mat, feet hip width apart, hands to prayer. Now we're going to go back into that mum movement, that 45-degree hinge, and we're going to hold. And then we know some tricks now, don't we, to make sure that we set ourselves up for success. So the foot's in contact with the floor, the knees are soft, the glutes are on. Maybe you imagine you've got a nut in your bum crack that you're trying to crack, yeah? So get those bum cheeks together. You've not gone into loads of lumbar extension. Try and keep that neutral amount. The core is zipped up, so you've got some support there. Now from here, imagine you're about to sit down on a really high stool. So it's not a seat, it's not astergrass, it's high, a high squat. I'm going to face towards you, but you stay where you are. You're just going to shift your weight from one foot to the other. So shifting the weight to left foot to right foot. And if you had a glass of water on your head, would it spill? Hopefully not, okay? So what I don't want is loads of wiggling of the bottom, okay? It's just a gentle, subtle shift, one leg to the other. Good. Now when you're ready, I'd like you to shift your weight to your left foot and hold it there. How is everything feeling? What little corrections could you make? Now lift the right heel up. We're going to tap this right foot back and then tap it back in. Just the little edge of your big toe. So don't put loads of weight on the foot. It's very gentle. That should then load up that left leg. Now in an ideal world, it would be everything showing up. So we'd feel a bit of quad, bit of glutes, bit of back, bit of core. If something's taking over, remember it's something else is not showing up. So have a break if you need it, but maybe think about little corrections so everybody's given the opportunity to turn up, yeah? And we're just gonna do our final 3. From the front, what are the hips looking like? Are they level or are we getting lots of hip drop? Last 2. On the last one, tap the foot back, hold. Now maybe we could sit a bit lower. If you feel balanced enough, you could lift your right foot just an inch off the floor to hold for 3. 2, pop the foot down, bring it back in, stand up and give your left leg a shake out. Ideally, your glutes would be aching, yeah, or burning, but again, everything should be working. Other side, again, we can always chat at the end if you're not sure. So feet hip width, set yourselves up with a nice neutral position. Hinge forwards 45 degrees and then stop. Think, what can I do to make this comfy, make everything work? Bend the knees a bit so you're on a stool. Shift your weight to your right foot this time. Lift the left heel, tap the left foot back and tap it back in. We tap it back, we tap it in. And you can see nothing else is moving on me because I'm not really putting any weight in that left foot. Now, if you're feeling it all in your right quad, you might be too far into your front of your foot. Maybe shift the weight into the right heel a bit more. If your toes are lifting, you'll probably be going into your lower back. So maybe put the toes back on the floor. Really nice, guys. Core engaged. So if in doubt, a little bit of a zipping up. Good. Let's do 3 more of these. Hopefully your bum is showing up. You can always prod it. Is it hard? On the last one, tap the foot back, hold. Well, if you want to, you could sit a bit lower. If you feel balanced enough, you could lift the left foot and hover. Lovely. 3, 2, drop the back foot, bring it in, stand up, and have a quick wiggle and a shake out. How did the second leg feel? If you're right-handed, you might find that second leg felt easier than your left leg, yeah? So quick sip of water, guys, because we're going into our second round of cardio. So again, it's 2 exercises. I'll demo, but you're more than welcome to do them with me. Arm pull. So we'll have the feet wide, the arms out in front, and it does what it says on the tin. We pull the arms back as we bend the knee. Now, just a quick one from the side. I want this movement with the arms, not this, because otherwise we start to compensate. We move our back, not our arms. So instead it's a bit like a row, yeah? Second exercise is split punch. Opposite arm, opposite leg, out in front. This is the low impact option, but if you're happy jumping, then you can just jump from one to the other. Yeah? So, feet wide, arms out in front. 3, 2, 1. So we pull the elbows back. We are bending at the elbow. That will bring your shoulder blades closer together, which is going to really work that mid and upper back. A really important part of your body for when you've got babies in your arms on the other side. Try and keep the spine neutral so we're not just cheating and moving our backs. And we're nice and bouncy, nice and soft. Good. We've got just over 5 seconds to go. Then it's opposite arm, opposite leg. In 3, 2, 1, change. So get your opposites, otherwise it does feel a bit odd. And then we can either do the low impact option where we tap the toe and proper punches. But if you're happy bouncing, you can switch, switch, switch. Energy through those arms. Good. Do imagine you're punching something. So punch bag, person, whatever works for you, but proper punches, not just wriggling the arms. Good. We've got just over 5 seconds to go. Lovely. 3, 2, 1, and rest. But again, have a walk around. So just walk around your living room, even if it feels a bit odd. Have a little sip of water and think about how it felt first time. So we can always use that first round as a bit of a practice run. And then second time, we can think about making it harder or easier. Remember that if you're super fit, you might have to load yourself up. You might have to bring some dumbbells or tins of beans with you. Now, for your second toner, it's cactus, probably one of my favourite exercises. So we're going to come to standing in neutral again, just so that we're really balanced, yeah? So hopefully now you can start seeing why in neutral we might be more likely to make everything work. Then we're going to bring the elbows and the shoulders to 90 degrees. So it's like you're a cactus, yeah? Then have a look at the arms. How do the forearms look? What we might find is actually getting the forearm vertical might be really tricky. You might actually have your arms more here. Okay, that's fine, but eventually we want them back there. Those of you who do feel arm work in the side of your neck, you might want to shrug and drop the arms a few times. If halfway through you need to do that, do it. Now from here, what I'd like us to do is start to rotate the arms so the palms face the floor. We're parallel to the ground. Exhale, rotate the arms so the palms face forwards. Inhale, we rotate the arms face down. Exhale, rotate the arms face forwards. And then what I would probably do is just start to rock from one foot to the other, just to keep blood moving. Don't cool down too much. Now with this exercise, just like with arm pull, if we've got limited range of movement in the shoulder, so maybe we spend a lot of our days like this or like this, then we'll have to get the movement somewhere else. We'll borrow it, okay, especially when we're not concentrating. And where's it going to come from? It will come from the spine. So we'll find we start doing this. Well, that's cheating, and it is not going to fix the problem, okay? It just keeps that problem there. And what you might find is that when there is weight added to this, a baby, that it really starts to give you tension, yeah, in the neck and the shoulders. So with this exercise, I really want you to think about drawing the arms back. That's the important bit here, the pulling the arms back. That's external rotation, and it's the opposite of what we do a lot of during the day. Yeah, so that should help balance us out. Are we cheating and moving the spine, or are we actually moving the arm and the shoulder? We're going to do 4 more of these. Lovely. Are you moving your wrists? That's another easy cheat. Sometimes we don't even know we're doing it. And on the next one, finish with those arms in that cactus position. Hold it there. And if you can, little pulses here. Without moving the shoulder girdle, we're just moving the arm in the shoulder socket. Final 5, 4, 3, and 2, and hold. And then when you're ready, you can relax. And what it should make you want to do is this. It should make you want to slouch. And every time you want to slouch after an exercise, you can almost guarantee it was an exercise that is going to stop you slouching, yeah? So, second 2 exercises, it was arm pull. If you need a quick sip of water, grab it now. Otherwise, arms out in front. What do you want to do differently second time? 3, 2, 1. So, elbows pull back. Are you getting movement in the shoulder blades? Or is it coming from the spine? If you're super fit, you could do this with weights in your hands. You might find by the end of the class you regret it, but it's always there for you. Or we could just go super speedy, really fast to make it harder, okay? It's whatever works for 6 or 7 out of 10 for you. Lovely. We've got coming up to 5 seconds to go. Lovely. Final 3, 2, 1, split punch. Opposite arm, opposite leg out in front. Good, proper punches. So again, maybe get angry. If you're not already angry, just get angry just for the next 20 seconds. And then hopefully it's out your system. You can jump. Remember, if you're a runner, it's no more bouncy than that is. And we've got, coming up to 5 seconds. Lovely. Final 3 and 2 and 1 and rest. Walk around though, have a sip of water, have a breather, and just thinking about how you feel. Exercising during pregnancy should never be painful, and in theory, by the end of the class, you should feel more energy rather than completely exhausted. So we want to find that balance. Now, good news for some, we're going to be coming down onto the floor. So if you do have a bump and you've got a pillow nearby, put it at the head end of your mat, just off the mat, just so you don't have to get back up, because the worst thing during pregnancy is having to get back up again. We're going to move to the end of the mat and we're going to reset. So take a moment to find neutral. Then when you're ready, take a big deep breath in, and as you exhale, you're going to take a roll down. So chin to chest, peeling down. And when you get to the bottom, just hang here for me. Now, as you roll down, what did you feel? And at the bottom here, if you feel squashed, if you've got a big bump, you can take the feet further apart. If it's too much, you can put your hands here on your knees. And if you need to roll up at any point, please do. But for most of us, this will feel lovely, because if we think of where we're growing the baby, it's at the front. That means the muscles in the back of the body have a massive job to do. So here, we're giving them a break. Where's the stretch, guys? For you, is it in your calves? Is it in your hamstrings? Is it in your lower back? Is it in the back of your neck? It usually highlights an area that's a bit dominant. So if those hip hinges were aggravating your lower back, I can imagine here, this is where you're going to feel your stretch. Now, when you're ready, bend your knees enough so you can put your hands on the floor, and everyone meet me down here on hands and knees with a nice neutral spine. Now, not everyone's going to be comfortable on their hands here, especially during pregnancy if you've got carpal tunnel. You might want to put your weight more in your legs, okay? So if you get uncomfortable here, don't feel like you need to be right over the hands. Sit your weight back a bit. Then once you've got that nice neutral spine again, so ribs stacked in line with the pelvis, visualize your zip again. So from tailbone to sacrum, to sternum, sorry. And then when you're ready, just unzip. Now, for some of us, this might feel quite strange, because during pregnancy, we might find that we're bracing a bit during the day, especially if our bumps feel really heavy. So the feeling of letting the bump relax might feel a bit strange, but it's really, really important. We can't expect muscles to brace all day and then not get a bit unhappy. So try to just let the tummy relax. Look down, let that bump hang. Let your baby, if you've got a bump, hang in the hammock of your tummy. Then when you're ready, take a nice big deep breath and exhale, zip yourselves up. So from that tailbone all the way up to that sternum, and then inhale, unzip yourselves again. And then do it again. Exhale, we're going to zip ourselves all the way up. And then on the inhale, we're going to unzip ourselves. Lovely. And let's keep this going. So again, you can choose a different visualization if that works for you. So sometimes thinking about closing the anus, gripping with the vagina, closing the urethra, and then doing up a belt, that might work. Or looking down and just watching that tummy, feeling it rise and then feeling it fall. Or thinking just about engaged pelvic floor, engaged transverse. Really depends on how your mind works. We're going to do a couple more of these, and what I like here is we can see the movement, right? We get to see what that muscles are doing. On the next one, engage, zip up, and then hold it there for me. Now, once you have zipped up, hopefully you can feel how your bump has a bit more support. And if you haven't got a bump yet, you just feel more stable through your core. But we should all be able to breathe. So if you're not sure, you could talk. If you can talk, you're breathing. And we should be able to stay engaged through our core and breathe. Otherwise, we would find it very difficult to do it during the day. And then when you're ready, you can just let it go. Push yourself up to standing kneel and give your wrists a quick break, have a shake out. Now that zipping up is a really important tool, especially if your lower back takes over, and it's an exercise in itself, so it's a great one to do outside of class. Now come to standing kneel. Take a moment to find neutral again. So think about this time, skull over ribs, ribs over pelvis, pelvis over knees, and then arms are by your side, you're showing off your collarbone. Now take the palms to face backwards, and then I want you to start pulsing these arms as if you're pushing back on springs. Now can we keep those arms straight, okay? What I don't want is tricep extensions or floppy wrists. Nice straight arms, and we push, push, push. So the movement is coming from right up here in that shoulder. Is everything else able to stay still? So if I had a glass of water on top of my head, would it spill? Okay, I don't want loads of hip thrusting. And if we manage to stay still, we know we've got a really lovely balance between the glutes working and the abs working. They are holding you in neutral whilst you're pumping those arms. Really nice. We're going to do 5, 4, 3, 2. Now push back and hold, crisscross these arms. So we're going to bend at the elbow and we're going to switch, switch, switch. One in front, one behind, swapping them over every time. So almost like windscreen wipers. Maybe, that's not a great analogy, but you're all looking like you're doing it well already. Now we should feel a stretch through the front of the shoulder. We've got these arms behind the back. We're going to be stretching there, but hopefully a bit of burning through the upper back and the back of the arm. 4, 3, 2, 1. Push those arms back and hold. And then when you're ready, relax. Give the shoulders a quick wiggle, a quick shake out. Now we are coming back down to a 4-point kneeling. It's really up to you here. What you could do if your wrists aren't happy is what I mentioned before. You could sit back here. You could come onto forearms, but what some of us with big bumps will find is it just doesn't feel right. It feels a bit weird. You could prop yourself up on that pillow. So you could still come onto forearms, but lift yourself up on a pillow. You could even do this with your forearms on a sofa. So make sure you're comfy. Then find neutral, engage your core. So zip yourselves up. I want you to bend your right knee and imagine there's a tennis ball behind it that you're holding on to, okay? So we've got this knee bent and it needs to stay that way. Now as you exhale, I'd like you to slowly lift your right leg up towards the ceiling and hold it there for a moment. And I want that leg to go as high as you can stay neutral. So what I don't want it to look like is this, okay? And that's probably what I see the most. Because in this position, my abs have switched off and my back is now hurting. So instead, let's find a position where everyone's still able to show up. Now as you inhale, you're going to slowly lower that leg down towards the floor. You'll do it again. Exhale, we kick the leg up. Inhale, we slowly lower the knee back down. And we're into some glute kickbacks. Really, really great exercise for targeting your glutes. And during pregnancy, your glutes are going to help stopping you going into an anterior tilt. So where the pelvis is pulled forwards by your bump, like I showed you earlier. because your glutes actually balance that out. The reason we've got this imaginary ball behind the knee is so that the hamstring's got something to do, so we can focus on the glute. The glute should be moving the leg. Now again, how are the wrists feeling? You can shift weight back. You can come onto forearms. You can put your forearms on the sofa. Do what you need to do, okay? But we can't really do this exercise without being facing the floor. Those of you coming up to your due dates, this is a great position. If you're planning a vaginal birth, it can help get your baby the right way round. We're going to do 3 more of these. Hopefully, you're feeling your right bum cheek work. Now on the next one, we're going to lift. We're going to hold it here. Now flex your right ankle for me. So push your heel up, pulse that leg up now, as if you're trying to kick the ceiling off your house. Kick, kick, kick. Lovely. Neutral spines. 4, 3, 2, and hold. And then when you're ready, lower that knee down, come back up to standing kneel and give your arms a wiggle. So hopefully it was here and not too much hamstring. Now when you're ready, come to a comfortable seated position before we do the other leg. Not always easy after that exercise. So you might sit cross-legged. Maybe you want to have your legs out or bent knees or sit on a pillow or sit on a sofa if you like. But I'd like you to come to a comfortable sitting position for your pelvic floor exercises. So in the bump plan, we're always including pelvic floor work because we're kind of working during pregnancy against a muscle that has lots of work going on. So we really do need to prioritize pelvic floor work. So today, I want you to try and sit comfortable. Try and sit neutral if you can. Sometimes being in a slouched position or leaning can put the pelvic floor in a different position, so it makes it a bit harder. Relax your arms. So I would just put your hands on your knees and then relax your face. If you can close your eyes, even better. If you relax your face, you'll relax your pelvic floor. Remember, floppy face, floppy fanny, and it really does mean, it does work, okay? If you're having a vaginal birth, relax your face, it could really help. So try and relax your face, relax your jaw, and then find your breath, breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth. Breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth, and just bring your attention to your breath. Now sometimes it's that we don't always understand what the breath is doing to our pelvic floor. So whilst you're here thinking about your breath, I just want you to know that when you breathe in, your pelvic floor lengthens. It's almost like you're standing on a trampoline. It lowers down to allow the breath in. As you breathe out, the pelvic floor comes back to normal, like stepping off a trampoline. So when you breathe in, guys, your pelvic floor is lengthening, it's stretching. As you breathe out, it's coming back to normal. And that is why, in a moment, I want you to do your pelvic floor lift on an exhale, so you're not working against your breath. So in a moment, I want us all to think about our perineum, okay? If you've done perineal massage, you know where it is. Think about the tissue between your anus and your vagina, so that bit in the middle. On your next pelvic floor lift, I want you to think about lifting that away from the floor. So if you're wearing a thong, you might feel it. After class, you could always have a look or put your hand there. It's a great way of knowing if you are doing your pelvic floor lift. So find your breath. Then take a nice big deep breath in, pelvic floor lengthens. Now as you exhale, lift that perineum off the floor and hold it there for me. So we're closing our holes and we're lifting them off the ground. Keep breathing if you can. If you can't breathe, talk. You've got another 3 seconds, 2, 1, and then visualize the perineum coming back down towards the floor and have a quick break. 8 to 10 seconds would be amazing, but that's also very difficult. So don't panic if you can't get there. Let's do that again. Nice big deep breath in and go. Exhale. Feel as if you're lifting your perineum away from your underwear or the floor, and then try and hold it up there. Keep breathing if you can't breathe through it. Talk through it. You're going to do it for about another 3 seconds. 2, 1, the important bit is, can you then release it? Really important, you must release it. We're going to do 10 pulses now, same visualization. So take a nice big deep breath in. On the exhale, let's go. Let's lift it, release, lift, release, up, breathe, up, perineum lifts up, and up, good, up, and up, and rest. So remember, a pelvic floor workout would be 10 holds, 10 pulses. Can't do them all now because it would take too long, but that's what you want to aim for. A couple of times a day during the day if you can. Now we're coming back to do that other leg. So over to hands and knees. Again, how do you need to get comfy here? Do what you need to do. And then zip yourself up. That's going to stop you being tempted to go into extension. Bend your left knee, there's a tennis ball behind it, and then lift the left leg for the first one and stay. So take a moment on that first rep to have a look down. How's that core looking? If you notice your ribs are flaring, you may have gone into a back bend. Then inhale, we lower the knee towards the floor. Exhale, we lift it back up. Inhale to lower and exhale to lift. So we really want to get rid of movement elsewhere so we can guarantee that the one movement we are doing is caused by the glutes. So we don't want to be moving our back. Kind of like with those arm exercises, it usually means that we're just compensating. We're using our back because the right muscles aren't turning up. So spine stays neutral. We've got that core engaged so that we've got that balancing of the abs and the lower back. They're all doing work so that your lower back doesn't do it all. Ideally not leaning to the right, but I'll be honest, that's pretty much impossible. So just try and keep it to a minimum. And we've got that hamstring on, so that's got a job to do, so it then doesn't take the job of the glutes. Yeah. We're going to do 3 more of these. You know what's coming up this time. Last 2. So on the next one, let's lift it, hold it, flex that left ankle, pulse that leg, up, up. Kick the ceiling off your house, push, push, push. Try and stay neutral for 3 and 2 and hold. And then when you're ready, lower the knees down. Now you can either come up to standing kneel or you can take your knees wide and take a child's pose. So you've got space for your bump between your legs. If that doesn't work and you want a halfway house, you could just come down onto forearms and stick your bum up into the air. But whatever you do, just try and have a quick breather. Again, maybe you feel more comfortable in standing kneel, just giving the arms a wriggle. We're going to hold it for 3. And 2, and then use your hands to push yourselves up to kneeling, and then coming up to standing, but I wouldn't rush, so I'd probably spend 30 seconds here. I've got a demo anyway, because it's your final round of cardio, okay? So final 2 exercises, and everything that we've done today will set you up for success with these last 2 exercises because it's knee pull. So you're going to be in that little mini squat position we practiced earlier. We know what to do. If we are thinking, you know what, my back is getting tired, just tuck under a bit, abs will do more. The weight will go to the right leg, the left leg behind you, arms overhead, and you'll be pulling the back knee in as you pull the arms down. So it'd be a bit wobbly. If you've got a big bump, you're going to want some turnout. If you've got pelvic girdle pain, maybe just do the arms. If your back is aching, maybe just do the legs. Then we'll do the other leg, and then we'll rest for a bit. Okay, so when you're ready, feet hip width apart, just make sure you're up and you don't feel dizzy. Yeah, so feet hip width, and we know what to do. We hip hinge a bit, we sit down a bit, we take a moment just to check everything is on. Shift the weight to the right foot, left leg goes back, arms overhead, 3, 2, 1. So we pull the left leg in as we pull the arms down, almost like we're doing some sort of line dancing move. If in doubt, hit the left knee with your hands as it comes in, if you're losing the order. And then we want to tweak it. So ideally we want the right bum to be on fire by the end. But if it's all in your quads, you might be too far forwards in your right foot. If it's in your lower back, maybe take the arms away because they do add weight. If you've got pelvic girdle pain, maybe just do the arms. Okay, but this should be an option for everyone. Final 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Swap your legs. Before you go, zip up and then get going again. So just make sure your technique's just as good on this side. Lovely. And breathe. Where's the weight in that left foot? Remember, where you put the weight will change where you feel it or what's showing up. Really nice, guys. Almost there. It should be your left bum on fire by the end. Final 5. Lovely. 3, 2, 1, and rest. Walk around, definitely after that one. Have a sip of water. Really lovely. And all these corrections that you're making now in class, you'll be able to carry over postnatally. So if you're kind of up rocking baby overnight and your lower back's aching, you can think, you know what if I tuck under a bit? Or you're bathing them, back hurts, you know what to do. So final toner. We're going to go into angel wings. You can do this lying on your back, but obviously during pregnancy that's not ideal. So what you could do is come up against a wall. I'm not going to, just because I know over the time, all the classes I teach, I just have a big sweat patch there. So if you can get against a wall, great. If you are against a wall, imagine the heels touching it. We don't need to imagine. Put your heels against it, your bum, your bra strap, or kind of the mid and upper back, and the back of your head. If you don't have a wall, visualize those touching the back of you. Then bring your arms back to cactus again. So like we practiced earlier, and if we were against a wall, the elbows and the back of the wrist would be touching that wall, yeah, in an ideal world. Get yourself as close to that start position as you can without pulling your back away from the wall, so still in neutral. Now from here, we're going to slowly start sliding our arms up this wall, only as far as we can keep contact with the elbow and the back of the wrist. So very few, if anyone, is going to get straight arms because the elbows will lift. Then from here, slowly start sliding the arms back down. And this time what you might find is the wrists start leaving the wall. So stop before you get there. And then we go again. We slide those arms up that wall, either imaginary or real, only as far as we can keep contact, elbows and wrists. And then we slowly bring them down to the point where we can't go further because we're going to start to tip. And then we keep that going. You could rock from foot to foot if you're not against a wall. If you're against a wall, it might be a bit awkward, but see how you go. Not the end of the world if you can't. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to maintain range of movement at the shoulder. And again, it's a great time to do it now that you guys are pregnant, because postnatally, you will be fighting against the fact that you spend so much time like this, so that's going to pull you that way. Whereas now, if we can get strong and really mobile now, there might not be such a huge effect when we're holding babies on the other side. And it can also really highlight, where are you tight? So I really struggle to get the arms down. I find I really tilt forwards because I am quite rounded, especially since having Freya. So it can just highlight if there is any weakness or tightness. And we're just going to do a few more of these. I'd say this is great for those of you who mention tight upper traps, grippy, tension, sore. If you press here, okay, and it hurts, I'd say something like this would be really helpful because it might just open you up instead of those upper traps always taking over. So we can do a couple more of these. Lovely. Keep those elbows and wrists lined up if you can. When you're done with your last one, meet me back in cactus. Hold it there. Have a look at the arms. Do you feel like you might have a bit more range now that we've loosened them off a touch? Or are you still stuck? Hold it for 3 and 2 and 1 and rest. And again, if it makes you want to do this, fantastic. I can see you guys are doing that. That's such a great sign. It's helped work muscles that will stop you doing that. So final round, guys, it's knee pull. We're almost done. So it's this and then a cool down, and then you can chat if you want to stay and chat to me. So coming to stand, feet hip width apart. We're going to take a hip hinge. Okay, little corrections if you need them, and then a little sit down. Load up the right foot for me. Left leg goes back, arms overhead. Before you move, zip up. 3, 2, 1. So we pull the arms down as we pull the leg in. Pull and pull. This time, can we imagine there's some resistance bands in our hand? Excuse me, that is the mat, I promise. Squeaky mat. So pulling down on those resistance bands. So you can imagine that, or you're in a gym with cables that you can pull on. So we've got this imaginary resistance as we pull and pull. That'll help fire up those lats. We've got 5 seconds left, then swap your legs. 3, 2, 1, swap. So remember, when you switch over, Even if you have to stop for a couple of seconds to get resetting, then do it, okay? If something's taking over, what else can you bring into it so that you're sharing that effort? Yeah, resistance bands in the hands, we're pulling down on them. Lovely, almost there, guys. We've got 5 seconds to go, and 3, and 2, and 1, and rest, but don't really rest. Walk around, have a sip of water. It's only a short pause because I want us in our cool downs whilst we're still warm. I know it's really tempting to leave now, but I'd say the cool down's the most important part of the whole class. So please don't leave just yet. And then as soon as you're ready, get into your cool down. We're gonna march on the spot, and we're gonna be taking the legs high and fast. So we're taking them back to the end of the warm up earlier on. So high and fast, ankles moving, point and flex, point and flex. Lovely. So whilst we're doing this, it's a great opportunity to slow the breath down. Breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth, okay? Really try and make the most of all of the rib cage, okay? So you're fighting against that uterus, make the most of every breath. Now reduce the height and speed of the legs by half, okay? So slow it down a little bit, lovely. And again, focusing on that breath. Now, whilst we're doing the cool down, I'm just going to really quickly answer some of the questions that we do normally get at the end in case you don't have time. So bump plan members, you can ignore me and just think about what you're going to have for dinner. But if you have not, you don't know much about the bump plan, I'll quickly go through it now. Reduce the height and speed of those legs again by half, so it's almost like you're just walking. So with the bump plan, there is a live class every week. So that's the first thing to say. There's one of these every single week. But the difference with the bump plan is that there are also mainly pre-recorded workouts, and I'm pregnant in all of those workouts. And then stop. Take the feet as wide as you can in parallel, comfortably, back into those skater stretches, but go a bit slower. And hold for a little second or two, and keep it nice and controlled. So they were pre-recorded whilst I was pregnant with Freya, my daughter. So as you get more pregnant during the plan, I get more pregnant too. So I'm always at the same stage of my pregnancy as you. And so the workouts are always specific to what you need at that stage, rather than it being really generalized. Let's do 2 more of these and 1 more, and then change. Feet a bit closer, hands on the shoulders, or we can do straight arms as long as we are not, guess what, compensating and cheating. Stay nice and neutral. Those workouts are 20 minutes and 30 minutes, so they're a little bit shorter, so easier to do one every day with a rest day each week, and then reverse it, other direction. And then alongside those workouts is an education hub. So there's lots of expert articles, all about topics that you might not think about prenatally or want to ask your friends about. And then relax, feet hip width into your single calf raises. So some of the topics are things like the post-birth poo, which you only think about when you go to do it, perineal massage, sex during pregnancy, all of those types of things alongside that. And then your workouts change at set periods through your pregnancy, so we get bigger and more pregnant again together. Let's just do 1 more each leg, and then give the ankles a rotate, one direction and then the other. Lovely. Have a quick wiggle, have a quick shake out. And that is you guys done for tonight. Well done everyone who turned up live. One last thing before you leave, if you are not a bump plan member and you're interested in coming and trying it out, there is a 7-day free trial, and there is also a discount code MYBUMP, which will get you £5 off membership a month, which brings it down to £30 a month. Now, those of you here live, if you've got any questions before you go, you can start typing them, or I'll be over to chat to you in a second. So wait there, but feel free to also rush off and go and have some dinner. Those of you watching this at a later date, I hope you enjoyed the class. Do get in touch if you've got any questions or feedback, and I might see you on the bump plan soon. Bye.